Back in the mix with the guys, and perception isn't always reality. Maybe the perception of this Panthers team is lagging to their reality. Now looking at 6-5 in that division, a Bucs team at 6-4. Bryce Young, a franchise record with 448. When you add up all those numbers, JJ, what does it tell you about this version of Carolina?
It's a great version of Carolina. I feel like I've talked about this a number of times on here where I did not necessarily think this was a playoff team, that this needed to be that next step for the Carolina Panthers. But now, the playoffs are squarely in their sights. Games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still out there. Now, they still have a number of very difficult matchups. The Niners and the Rams, the Seahawks still on their schedule. Those things said, they just swept the Atlanta Falcons for the first time since 2013. This is a Panthers team that is winning in different ways. We hadn't seen Xavier Legette in some time. He shows up with a touchdown. You know, Rico Dowdle, only 45 rushing yards, right? This is a Panthers group that the Falcons are hungry. Falcons needed it. I had somebody at the game who texted me calling this a funeral for the Falcons. Wow. This is no good for Atlanta. We'll get to them later on, but let's credit the Carolina Panthers, a team that a lot of people have been sleeping on. And Bryce Young battled through injury twice. Today, we saw him be tended to by the trainers, and to come out and throw for more yards in a game than Cam Newton ever did, than Jake Delhomme ever did, than even other Panther greats like Randy Fasani and Bryant St. Pierre.
He's in his bag.
Reach back one time.
You know, credit. Former teammate. There you go. So credit to Bryce Young and this Carolina Panthers team above 500 this late in the year. Who saw that one coming?
Man, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Bryce Young and the grit that he has been showing throughout this season. Last year, remember, he got benched, came back and played some outstanding football, and now that's starting to continue to roll on into this season. What he was able to do today, we see that he can do it. Throwing for 448 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. LeGarrette finally joined the party today with 4 catches, 84 yards. The young rookie,
Federal
McMillian came, had a huge game today, 130 yards. So this team can be very explosive, but again, just like who was talking about earlier, it's going to come down to quarterback play.
Yeah.
How efficient can Bryce Young be?
Jacksonville, your point.
Yep, Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. How efficient can Bryce Young be for this Carolina Panthers team?
You said this was a potential funeral for the Falcons.
The injury within it, a big part of that. Now 3-7, Michael Penix Jr., a knee issue.
Well, the body's in the ground. The casket's in the ground. Their season is officially disco dead, and disco has been dead a long time here in our great country, right?
Since the 80s, huh?
Since the
Not in the Musso household.
70s or the early 80s. That's so long.
New Year's Day, 1980.
Facts. That was the death of disco, where the Atlanta Falcons, their season is disco dead, and it's all because of them. This is unexcusable in terms of how they lost this ball game. One would have thought the way they lost last week out of the country against the Indianapolis Colts in overtime, you allowed Jonathan Taylor just to take over that ball game and brought home a win for the Colts. One would have thought you would have learned something. But the same scenario surfaced once again in overtime where you allowed Bryce Young, who was hobbled. You sacked him 5 times. He was beat up. He was battered. But he came in and delivered an historical day for the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta at home, the sense of urgency was supposed to be there because of the disappointment you were involved in last week, and then you allowed this to happen. This team is too talented to have these mishaps week in and week out. But because of that lapse-minded of play and not being efficient, now your season is over. It's time to get ready for 2026. And when you look at the organizational side of things, who is going to be a part of this organization
it's a big question.
Moving forward because of what has happened or has not happened this season?
JJ, you talk about the sweep since 2013. You would have thought this team would have came out and played better being beat early on in the year, 30-0.
30-0.
Right.
60 points they've hung on this team. And it's the beauty of this game that we love so much. Coming into this one, Bryce Young, last in the NFL amongst qualified passers in pass yards per game. This passing defense, top in the NFL in Atlanta. Wasn't how it played out. Instead, a record for Bryce Young, 448. Yes, I don't know if you want to assign asterisks, but
he did have overtime.
There was extra time.
He didn't really throw.
We will have to audit 11, 6, and 11, Cam Newton and Chris Winkie, to see if those were done in regulation.
Shouts out to Chris Winkie, by the way.